A remarkable transformation is taking place in Ethiopia's highlands. The rolling hills are gradually turning from brown back to green. From degraded watersheds to healthy, productive land once again. And people's lives have been transformed too.
The benefits we have got are for our community, our cattle, our soil, and our environment.
Many still think of Ethiopia as a land of famine. But times have changed. This is a country healing her landscapes. A nation whose people are leading themselves to prosperity and onto economic development. Over the last decade, the ambitious Sustainable Land Management Program has been a key driver of change. And the principles behind the program are embedded in Ethiopia's constitution.
The farmers and the community who are benefiting from it are giving their own testimony, how that is also supporting the environment and how that is also supporting their household income.
The strategy of using sustainable land management to eradicate poverty has been very effective. SLM is a major warrior in war against poverty.
Planning starts from communities who share a common interest in their own micro-watersheds. Experts support them with options and know-how.
So the planning is both ways. Framework planning is developed by the region, by the top government, but otherwise the final plan endorsement is coming from the bottom.
At the end of the day, it's the communities who decide and implement the solutions of their choice. Let's now look at how the people are transforming their land. From Oromia and SNNPR in the south to Gambela, Benishangul Gumuz, and Amhara and Tigray in the north. In Amhara, Lake Tana is the source of the Blue Nile. But it is under threat by sediment washed down from its heavily populated watershed. Erosion from overgrazed lands is one cause. Girmau Tazazu explains a new livestock management system that improves the pastures.
The grass you see growing is the result of our work. We now cut and carry the bundles to our animals.
No longer are the cattle allowed to roam freely. Fed at home, they produce more milk, and the grasslands get the chance to recover. Teji Galau appreciates how the environment is improving.
It used to be exposed to erosion, but now has become fertile like a flower.
In Tigray, the rocky landscape shapes the way that the people live. However, it has been badly scarred by erosion. Yet the recovery here is equally dramatic, and it has impacted on livelihoods. Lalmet Mabratu relates how things have changed for her.
Why? Before, the land was not good. People just came and played there. Now I gather grass, sell it to make money, and I have even managed to build a house.
Gorgis Gebramarian and his fellow farmers have been restoring their lands using a mixture of traditional and innovative techniques.
Before this work, it was a place unsuitable for cattle, let alone men. We were even considering leaving. At first, I opposed the conservation work, but now I am the main defender of the program.
Traditional stone craftsmanship is a proud cultural heritage in Ethiopia. It's reflected in historical monuments, stone buildings, and ancient terraces. But a recent innovation is wider bench terracing, learned from the rehabilitation of China's Lus Plateau. The benches are wider than the traditional ones, capturing more moisture and opening up opportunities for cash crops and fruit trees. Oromia is known as the land of forests, but deforestation and soil erosion have threatened even the food-producing areas. Now there's better news. In degraded areas, communities use conservation measures such as earth bunds, with grass planted to stabilize them. Trenches above the bunds capture water, which sinks into the soil. And community-based forest management has preserved the remaining indigenous woodlands and stimulated natural regeneration. Together, these conservation measures have opened up new livelihood opportunities. Mezgebu Tadessa is among those who found new income sources that their ancestors could not have dreamed of.
An expert came to me and suggested fish farming, and that is what I have done.
Fish add protein to the diet and cash to the pocket too. Conservation measures have allowed farming to become more diversified, more resilient to risks from climate change and other shocks. Over the years, the Sustainable Land Management Program has evolved towards the landscape as a whole.
One of the approaches that we identified and found to be suitable for the Ethiopian landscape is that watershed approach and the landscape approach.
Initially, communities focused on croplands by building terraces and other soil and water conservation measures. Efforts then moved to include degraded, overgrazed communal areas. People realized that land could not be restored without managing livestock. So areas have been enclosed, some by physical barriers, but many simply by community agreement or social fencing, as this is termed. Land enclosure leads to better vegetation. Indigenous biodiversity returns, and carbon is captured in the soil and trees. The land becomes healthier. In turn, the improved vegetation can be cut and carried to feed more productive livestock. A virtuous cycle is established. Encouraged by these experiences, efforts have expanded in recent years onto the upper slopes by treating gullies and planting trees. Now rainfall is captured over large areas, and the level of water in wells is rising. Seasonal rivers have begun to flow all year too, opening opportunities for irrigation and diversification of crops. Yields have increased as a result.
The farmers used to produce only 8 quintals of grain per hectare before, but now they can produce from 20 to 32 quintals.
It is estimated that in less than 10 years, at least 30 million people have benefited from conservation measures and enclosure of grazing lands. The environment has profited too. Biodiversity is back. Once more, it's a living landscape. But what are the keys to this extraordinary turnaround? First, enduring commitment at the highest level, addressing degradation and managing land sustainably is allocated top priority. Second, it's demand-driven, embracing everyone, men and women, the young and the old. Communities plan their own micro-watersheds. This process is supported by land certification, which gives farmers increased security and an incentive to invest in conservation.
I have a land certificate. It bears my name, my wife's, and all my children's names, as well as the measurements of all the pieces of land that I own.
Third, the program spans all administrative levels.
Our organization is very good all the way from the Kepele. This is the sub-district level up to the federal government. We collect feedback. If we have one Kepele that has good experience to share, we take the feedback, compile it, send it to all other districts and Kepeles. The information reaches about 3,000 Kepeles in Bahir Dar within just 2 or 3 days.
In addition, the government and development partners are united in their support for the program and its approach.
So that this land management, land-based activities in the highland areas, however it is greening, this will help ensure food security of the country and the poverty reduction that the government is undertaking under the active participation of the communities as a whole.
What's more, the State Minister sees the approach as integral to a new national strategy.
This climate resilient green economy strategy helps the country, and also there is a sign that it is helping to ensure greening the country.
Ethiopia has a clear roadmap for the future, and there's a buzz of excitement and a feeling of pride on this journey into a greener and better fed future.